Now for chapter 28. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Now, of course, the first clause is talking about the cowardice of the unbeliever, but I really like the Jameson Fawcett Brown comment on this because a consciousness, this is why they're so afraid, because a consciousness of their guilt excites in them a continual expectation and dread of God's judgment. Make no mistake, my dear friends, even as an atheist years ago, always in the back of my mind, I always thought to myself, what if there is a hell? I was suicidal at one point, had a pistol to my head, and I was just seconds away from doing it. But then the one thought that kept me from it was, what if I go to hell? I just kept, that thought just kept popping up in my mind. Verse 2. For the transgression of a land, many are the princes thereof, but by a man of understanding and knowledge, the state thereof shall be prolonged. Pulpit's commentary on this really fit well with the lesson to learn the history of the northern kingdom of Israel. Remember how after Solomon, the two nations split. 10 tribes went north, 2 tribes stayed in the land known as Judah, afterwards the southern kingdom. But the northern kingdom of Israel, especially in the disastrous period succeeding the death of Jeroboam II, affords proof of the truth of the statement. Now here is a chart of the kings of the southern kingdom of Judah and the northern kingdom of Israel. Jeroboam II, that was just mentioned, was right down here. He reigned longer than any of the others. Many of them did not reign long at all. One only reigned for a week, the other for a month, another for 6 months. That was the successor of Jeroboam II. But Jeroboam II, he reigned longer than any of them in the northern kingdom, 41 years. But all of these were bad, and that's what's talking about with the many princes having to come up, because their reigns were so short that it was just assassination after assassination, just one evil king after the next. But just as you can see with the character of all of these in the northern kingdom, not one good, all of them labeled as bad and evil. But over here you see the green, and these are of the tribe of Judah, the Davidic descendants. And you'll notice the green, red, green. And this green was good kings. They actually feared the Lord. They obeyed the Lord. And you'll see how their nation, the southern kingdom, was prolonged about 150 years longer than that of the northern kingdom. And it's believed that it was due to there being actual God-fearing kings. So just to clarify, whenever a nation becomes fully wicked, you'll start to see many princes coming up, many different rulers. Even if there's a head that you can see as a prime minister or a president, there are actually many rulers behind them. But by a single man of understanding, the state thereof shall be prolonged, just as Christ ruling over the whole world here in just a very short time. Verse 3, a poor man that oppresseth the poor is like a sweeping rain, which leaveth no food. Now we hear all the time about tyrannical kings oppressing the poor, but right here is a lesson on a poor man rising up through the ranks and beginning to oppress his former fellow poor people. They are like a sweeping rain, which leaveth no food. See, a rain, whenever it comes by, you usually expect for crops to grow, grass to grow, and suddenly he gets there and it leaves no food. It's just like a rain that comes by, and it's just all dreary. They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them. Evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness. Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich. Whoso keepeth the law is a wise son, but he that is a companion of riotous men shameth his father. He that by usury, or interest, he that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. Now, we see this a lot with bankers and all of this, how they add so much interest to a loan that it winds up crippling those in whom they have loaned out to. But the lesson right here is ill-gotten gains do not prosper in the end. After a time, they pass into hands that know how to use them better. Just as the second clause in verse 8 states, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. Verse 9, he that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be abomination. Whoso causeth the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit, but the upright shall have good things in possession. The rich man is wise in his own conceit. In his own imagination, a rich man is very, very smart, smarter than everyone else. But the poor that hath understanding searcheth him out. In other words, the poor sees such a conceited rich man, they see him to be what indeed he is, a foolish and miserable man. I heard Adrian Rogers on the radio a year or two ago, and he said something that has never left me, one of his little quips, I suppose, but he may have gotten it from somewhere else. But anyway, he said, the rich man eats good, but the poor man sleeps good. Now think about that one for a minute. The rich man eats good, but the poor man will sleep much better than the rich. There's not so many worries on his head. Verse 12, when righteous men do rejoice, there is great glory. But when the wicked rise, a man is hidden. He that covereth his sins shall not prosper, but whoso confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. Happy is the man that feareth always, but he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief. Now this is speaking of fearing the Lord. And to fear the Lord always does not mean, my friends, that you're constantly quivering in a corner. No, you fear God, and by fearing the Lord, he strengthens you against all other obstacles. He that fears the Lord can stand against, he'll be the most courageous man in the whole room. But he that hardeneth his heart shall fall into mischief. As a roaring lion and a raging bear, so is a wicked ruler over the poor people. The prince that wanteth understanding is also a great oppressor. The wicked prince that never searches out God's will but his own will. He's a great oppressor. But he that hateth covetousness shall prolong his days. Now, just as we read in the New Testament about how the love of money is the root of all evil, well, covetousness can be lumped in with the love of money. And that is usually, if not always, the root cause for oppression. There may be other causes on top of that, but it's usually for the love of money or power. Verse 17, a man that doeth violence to the blood of any person shall flee to the pit. Let no man stay him. So a murderer, serial killer, they're on their way to the pit. They're on their way to hell just as fast as they can go if they don't repent quickly. Whoso walketh uprightly shall be saved, but he that is perverse in his ways shall fall at once. Meaning in the immediate sense that from calamities that come upon ordinary men, that the wicked man will come against you time and time again, but the Lord will protect those in whom walk uprightly from their schemes. Verse 19, he that tills his land shall have plenty of bread, but he that followeth after vain persons shall have poverty enough. If you follow the example of lazy men, you'll have nothing. A faithful man shall abound with blessings, but he that maketh haste to be rich shall not be innocent. Because a man in whom will do anything for money, he's hastening to be rich, he'll usually get into some really shady things in order to get that money. So he shall not be innocent. In the eyes of the Lord, he will be guilty of many sins. Verse 21, to have respect of persons is not good, for a piece of bread that man will transgress. Now we can see in the extreme sense those in whom have gotten into Hollywood by what we call selling their souls. So this is a general warning against putting other people above others and then doing whatever you can to get in with them, with that clique, in order to be rich like them. For a piece of bread that man will transgress. For a piece of their attention he'll transgress. He that hasteth to be rich hath an evil eye, and considereth not that poverty shall come upon him. He that rebuketh the man afterwards shall find more favor than he that flattereth with the tongue. Because such people that flatter with their tongues are usually pretty weak individuals. They're usually, there's some ulterior motive behind their actions. But he that rebukes a man, tells the truth to his face, you can tell they're honest men. Whoso robbeth his father or his mother, and saith, It is no transgression, the same is the companion of a destroyer. There's really no worse. If you'll rob from your mother and father, then you'll rob anyone. There's nothing that you won't do at that point. And this very proverb even likens such a man or woman to being like a brother of the devil, a companion of a destroyer. He that is of a proud heart stirreth up strife, but he that putteth his trust in the Lord shall be made fat. Because a proud man will usually drive away all of his companions and friends in order to get somewhere else. He knows what's best. He refuses to listen to anyone or to even have any real friends. He's too proud for that. So he'll run away all of his friends and companions, and he'll find himself abandoned at the end. He that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. He that giveth unto the poor shall not lack, but he that hideth his eyes shall have many a curse. When the wicked rise, men hide themselves, but when they perish, the righteous increase.